If you have issues with that, take it up with Daryl, because he's huge.
Yeah. Speaking of lap dances, I'd like to welcome you all to Right Night.
What? I told you not to come in here!
As always, we quickly introduce everyone who's here and for anyone who's new, because we always happen to have someone who's new, which is quite incredible. It's quite near and dear to my heart. You know, I feel like we're doing something. Myself, a movement. Steve Shanahan, or Shaggy Shan, online, of course. Of course, I tell you, of course, you know these things. Every week you've heard me. Web comics mostly, anthology comics as well. Web series, we did that. We want to do that again in the future. Holds many things for us. Yes. Who else is here?
Kawai, yeah, I'm doing shit all. Okay, next person.
I'm Jim Crone, also known as my pseudonym Biff Turnbuckle.
What? Did you bring this up?
It's a long story. Okay. I'm a Gemini who enjoys long walks on the beach.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, Jim. I'm Dylan. I'm a new guy. I'm mostly sketch comedy. I'm in the troupe Kiss the Dog here in Toronto.
Just the dog or kiss the dog?
Kiss the Dog.
Kiss the dog.
KISS, the dog. And yeah, that's about it.
I'm Chris Cater, online FluxFox. I write comics and do photography.
My name's Andrew Anthony. I'm an actor, writer, and editor.
There. David Hall wasn't here last week because I was actually getting down to some writing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm working hard.
It's a support group.
Yeah,
on the novel, which is good. And so hopefully we'll keep it rolling this week.
I hope we'll have a live reading of this.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Just because you're a right guy does not mean you're a right guy.
How's it start?
How does it start?
Is it a Wednesday? Like what is it?
Yes, it's definitely a Wednesday. You always start novels on Wednesdays. Yeah, it's a good day. It's right in the middle
It was the best of Wednesday. It was the worst of Wednesday.
Now normally I run things here and I have like questions and stuff for everyone, but this time someone else made a suggestion what day we should be talking about. What are we talking about?
Tropes and writing devices that grind our gears. I was watching a series where a character I was only just introduced to had a scene with their shrink, and I thought, man, it's the most cop-out thing you can do is put your character in front of, unless it's the subject matter and it's about the relationship with this shrink. Yeah. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a writer who's too lazy to let me do the detective work, to let me figure things out. And then I flipped channels and I saw a guy get a security door closed behind him, and then he unloads a magazine into the keypad, and that locks the door. Like I was just, and then people who don't say goodbye before hanging up. Like there's just a number of things that I'm sure we're all aware of, and we're aware of it when we're watching things, we're aware of it when we read it, and especially we're aware of it when we write it. And I think I've come to these bridges to cross where I think, okay, I'm familiar with this moment. Am I going to write that thing that everyone knows, this little trope, because it's easy? Or am I going to actively write against it because I hate that trope? And then I get into this whole meta of, am I writing less honest because I'm actively trying to avoid something?
Yeah.
Or trope? Yeah, I'm trying to be counter to it.
Yeah.
And when really maybe that trope is necessary. So that I just thought I'd bring that up.
I think we ran into that a few times. Like even as I wrote the description for the Facebook event, it basically said some of it is narrative comfort, and others is just I've seen this again and again. When will you stop? Kind of thing.
Good point, and I think we've all been there. It was definitely in school where you're like, we can't have a happy ending. It's always a happy ending.
It's gonna be opening.
I gotta Europeanize this and give us
Europeanize?
Yeah. In Bruges. You guys ever watch In Bruges?
Yeah.
I heard it.
I was like, this is a pretty solid film, and there's a natural, solid ending, and it would have been a nice, I don't want to say a happy ending, and then they're like, wait a second, we're supposed to be a bit more. It's supposed to be a bit more European.
Europe, damn it.
A bit, we're just gonna toss a little sad ending.
Throw in a midget.
You know?
Call the clown and make him cry.
You know,
Paint the black.
going off of what you're saying, if you have to decide or you're stressing over what your ending is, it's because you don't have a story to tell. No, and that's not always a bad thing.
No, I didn't mean zero.
What somebody has to do then is not think about what kind of ending you want. Revisit what you've already done and see what story comes out of that. And I had that happen with something I was writing, where I sent it to my buddy, and he goes, "Dude, you just got lost on 3 different avenues that I wasn't ready for." He said, "You know, what about?" And he gave me a list of things he was interested in. He goes, "Where were those going?" And I went, and I thought about it, and there was a place, and I discovered it, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, it's not mine, it's the stories, it was there, and I just had to look for it." And I think that's a healthier way to go about things, rather than, and this is something that I've only just learned, so assume that all my work before, like last year, was like this. I would have a really great idea, and then I'd tag an ending to it. And a lot of things are like that these days. They're just good ideas. Jake and I, my best friend just bought Dark Shadows, Tim Burton's film. And we were discussing it, how it had a really solid beginning. Because it was focused, it had shape, it had personality, you really got the atmosphere, the mood. So it was very considered, wasn't it? And that's because you can always count on a Burton film to consider the art direction and all that fun visual shit. But the thing is, the movie fell short in the ending. It didn't know if it wanted to be a movie about redemption or freeing yourself of vampirehood. Is it about the girl from the past? Is it about the girl from the future? Is it about the girl from the... They had so many storylines and balls in the air, they didn't know which ones to catch. And I think that happens when you only have a good idea. It's not enough. And I think that is the... If necessity is the mother of invention, then a good idea is the mother of tropes. Because I think that a good idea needs to grow into a story. Otherwise, if it stays as an idea, you're going to write a really good body, a hook of an interesting opening, and then you're going to be the guy who for 3 months occasionally tells his friend, "Man, I can't finish the script." Yeah. And then a few months later, you'll be like, "Oh, I had this amazing night. I'm amazing. I finished it." And it's like, yeah, that's an interesting ending you put on it.
That movie decided to turn into a monster mash flick at the end too. Like what was it, a werewolf, a ghost, an immortal?
And it came out of nowhere. It's like, oh great, the teenage angst girl is a werewolf. It literally came out of nowhere. And you know what? And because it did, she turned, looked at the camera, and went, "Yeah, I'm a werewolf." And I went, Tim Burton should have just thrown off his beret, shoved her out of frame, gave the finger to the camera, and went, "Yeah!
I'm Tim Burton."
Yeah, exactly. And then just let the movie ride. And you know what? Same effect.
I think I would have enjoyed that ending more.
I think a lot of people need to acknowledge that, acknowledging that doesn't make it okay.
But that seems to be kind of one of the ways to get away from being self-aware and self-parodying of the tropes you're doing lets you do it. It's like we're like, I don't mean to be offensive, but this. I'm like, you're just defending yourself. You're trying to not be offensive, but you still are. You know?
Yeah, like
I'm
the
not
moment
a
you have to
racist,
defend
but-
yourself,
That's
that's when you already know you're over that
no,
line.
you are now.
You're almost describing Community, because Community, well, we were discussing how their meta saves them from all the tropes, because they relish and make a meal of the tropes. I think that's a little bit different than having a precursor to your trope, because what you're describing is a precursor. Like, I don't mean to offend you, is the precursor.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna offend you.
Well, like they do the trope and then they'll wink at it right after, being like, "It's cool because we know we did it."
Yeah.
I watched a 7-hour series. I've watched it 3 times. It's called The 10th Kingdom. It's TV. The TV and film act as radio for me when I'm writing. This is perfect. It's just something I have on. I don't even have to look at it, and it's about the fairy tale thing in New York. Yeah, conceptually it was interesting, but there were a lot of shortcomings, and one of them was that they had this character who I love. It was this wolf character, and he's in love with the main heroine, and that's enough for me. But you know what they did was they had him running amok in the city, and he stumbles into a room, and when you know it, this room is a psychiatrist's room. And she's like, "Oh, are you my 5 o'clock?" And he's like, "Sure." And I guess shrinks don't know their. I guess like my secretary just sends them in, and I help them.
I've been sitting in this dark room for 2 days.
I've been waiting for you. So without any kind of consultation or formality, she lies him down, just that stereotypical lie down on the chair, and they start doing the shrink babble, and it wasn't even smart. And at the end of it, he's got these books, and you know what the titles of the books are? How to Woo the Girl of Your Dreams, but She Doesn't Like You. So basically, the titles of the books are glaringly unrealistic, and you might as well just have characters walking around with, this is what he had without the string, but a name tag or cards that just say who I am, what I want, all the things that art should let me figure out. And those are the tropes I hate. So the one that I'll throw out there for my example are shrinks. Having a shrink character hurts your story because. As a writer, for instance, you're writing a script, you only write what you can see and what you can hear. Why? Because all of that stuff beneath the surface is meant for novels, all of that insight. Otherwise, if what I'm seeing and hearing doesn't inform me as an audience member, you're not doing your job. So putting a shrink is a cop-out. Because a shrink is basically, if you're resisting on the page, I wanted to write down that this character was feeling a certain way, I'm going to make myself a character and then tell the character this. Yeah. So it's just, it undermines good storytelling.
If that's how you use the shrink.
Exactly.
Because there's obviously good ways to use a shrink otherwise.
What about Bob?
One came close. Yeah, Shakespeare in Love is another example. A movie I love. Didn't like that shrink scene. Actually, the only thing that was redeeming about it was the bracelet that was given. Familiar with the movie, everyone?
It's been a
Shakespeare
while.
in Love. Basically, there was something valuable in the scene that saved it from being a trope, and also that movie's riddled with a lot of like fun theater Easter eggs. One thing was that the guy playing his shrink was Tony Shearer, who has one of the most definitive Richard III's. So that scene was a treat for me, but it was still a trope.
Yeah, sometimes I find the shrink thing can sometimes be just lazy exposition.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the modern shrink is talking to the camera because it's a documentary. I mean, it does the same thing.
You think I'm Malcolm in the Middle for that, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, like Modern. I love Modern Family, and they've been trying to. They have been getting out of the way from talking to the camera, but that talking to the camera.
There's that new Spider-Man series.
Ultimate
we watched
Spider-Man?
It
Oh,
is
it
so
kills
bizarre
me.
because he freezes the moment and then he just stares at the camera and be like, "Whoa, it's Doc Ock. What's he doing here?"
So wait a minute.
Glad I got up early.
Are you implying that? Yeah, Zach Morris is Spider-Man?
He is the new Spider-Man. He is
Time out, or is it cool out?
pretty much.
Cool out or time out? Is it Snap? Okay, I was.
And it's the exact
Well,
same
it's
thing.
basically that series is some weird merger of Malcolm in the Middle, Teen Titans, like the anime
Saved by
style.
the Bell.
And it's all that. It's just it's such a bizarre
Wait,
show to
there's
watch.
one redeeming quality. Is he freezing time, so to speak? Is it when Spider Sense kicks in?
Not always.
It's all the time.
It's just all the
It
time.
happens a lot.
See,
Like,
you would have forgiven it if it were Spider Sense, right?
the
'Cause
logo's black and white.
Spider-Man
and he
Day
says
Off.
something
They
arbitrary.
also pull off the Family Guy thing. Oh, like that time, and then they
Yeah.
cut to it and show you. It's like, oh, I want to watch Spider-Man. Though that episode with
It was
Hawkeye
a
is
funny
hilarious.
episode. It was basically him and Hawkeye got their hands stuck together.
On the note of, you know how there's emotional editing. That's a thing that that's existed as far back as Battleship Potemkin, right? So what if that kind of editing evolved and married to these expositions we're talking about, like cutting away to insights where you're looking at the camera? Suppose you had a scene where it's a cafe and there's a female character sitting down and a male character sits down next to her, like, "Hey, Janice," and as he sits down, we cut. Like as fast as those taps were, images of past that we'll never show. Like maybe it's them, a kiss, a slap, and a door slam. It's a 1, 2, 3, and now you know that there's something between them. And it just happens like that. Like so, I think I was talking to you about it. Yeah, where I wanted to have an entire movie with like little to no dialogue, and all of it was you practically get people's life stories through the editing.
Yeah, we're saying.
I'd be cool with that, but it have to be consistent.
feel like
Just
it's
like,
very-
it has to be consistent.
Yeah, consistency makes a lot of things very forgiving.
Yeah.
If you're consistent, it seems most like a choice, and choices seem like they have consideration and thought. We will take it.
Yeah, because if you only did it once throughout the whole movie, the people would be like,
yeah.
what the fuck is this?
A great example of that is in a recent movie.
Tyler Durden.
with Brad Pitt, Killing Them Softly. Great film, a lot of interesting nuances to it. There was this one scene where a character's taking drugs to Lou Reed's heroin, and they were doing things cinematically and with the editing that were very stylized, but so foreign to the rest of the film that it really wasted my time. Like I didn't like it. On its own, it was excellent. It didn't fit with anything else. Yeah.
I guess it may not even be a trope at all, but due to timeline editing, so I was watching American Horror Story because I got U.S. Netflix.
How
so I
is
had
that?
access.
I keep hearing it's amazing.
It's quite silly.
I saw a poster for it. It looked messed up. I saw a red room
Yeah.
with a girl lying
Visually,
down
it's very striking.
and a black suit gimp descending.
Yeah, that gimp dude, I guess, he shows up a bunch. And actually, it's not a spoiler, but like the first time the gimp suit, whatever, shows up, the wife is like, "Oh, you're wearing a gimp. You're being kinky." Well, she just goes, "Oh, you're being kinky."
Well, I don't know what the show's about.
But she doesn't give a second to let him reply because I think there's editing timelines. So like, we gotta get the show under 23 minutes. It's like, "Oh, you're wearing a gimp suit. Oh, you're not talking." I'm just like, he didn't have a chance to reply yet. So like, for whatever reason, due to editing restrictions, they like kept this mystery going. And I don't know.
If it helps people think not just on tropes, but tired devices is really what I mean to say. Like, just exchanges, scenarios, and events and beats that we've seen time and time again.
You gotta watch those mashups. Like there's two kinds of people in this world. Mashup, and people make YouTube videos of every single time.
You
there's
posted
two kinds of
you
people.
posted a couple of really good ones actually.
There's
The
a lot of
falling
them.
one, like different cinematic ones.
There's people crashing through glass. There's people getting hit by buses. There's people saying there's two kinds of people in this world.
Well, here's another one, Green Lantern. Green Lantern is a movie that took every superhero movie's tired devices, put them into one. You know what you're going to see in that movie. You're going to have the unsuspecting, charismatic, good-looking guy is going to get mugged or beat up outside of a bar, because that always...
To be fair, there was one thing in the Green Lantern movie I thought that was actually really interesting and different. Because as soon as he gets his powers, he shows it to his friend. He's like, "Isn't this cool? I'm Green Lantern." And he's like, this is like, the secret world of Alex Mack or something, where he's like, you show your best friend your powers, but don't tell your parents. And he did that kind of thing. And then the next scene, he, saves his girlfriend or something, and she's like, "How?" And like right away. And I'm like, it was really kind of neat that they...
Oh, that they didn't insult us to say the mask actually covers it.
So we didn't suffer from Clark Kent syndrome, right?
This is actually one of the biggest tropes, if one of the tropes that I realize now that bothers me, is whenever you have like the kids' adventure story and the kids gain superpowers, it's always like, "Let's not tell our parents." And I'm just like, dude, the government's after you, kids, and your dad works for the government. You might want to tell them. It's like, "Oh, no, they wouldn't understand. We're kids, we're smarter than them." And like growing up now, I'm like, I would like to know if my kids being chased by the government. It's concerning as a parent.
The whole parents is stupid trope from kids' cartoons is a little tiring as it is now.
No, it's Will Smith propaganda. Parents just don't understand.
But it's like...
It works well for kids.
Yeah.
Oh, it works great for kids
Because they identify with it.
the world. Like, the kids are the smartest.
Well, kids always want to have
now,
secrets too, right? I mean, that's why Harry Potter was so big. Everyone wanted to be that little kid under the stairs. We
Well,
love
maybe not that
secrets.
portion.
Like the magic.
Yeah,
They're probably more. I want to go to Hogwarts,
flying.
and then
Yeah, not all of
I
us
want to
had-
live with the spiders.
Not
in the
all of us
closet.
had bedrooms. So.
Make legit aunt and uncle.
Sure.
That'll make for interesting.
I'll tell you another thing.
Thank you so much.
I love this place.
Chessboards being smart people. Like, you see a chessboard, they're a master.
That's a pistachio cake.
I kind of want to see where someone has a chessboard is just really bad at it.
Yeah.
Like they're sitting there, they're
They have a
like,
chessboard and they're a master.
I don't even know how
Oh
this works.
yes, they did that. They did that actually in the. We saw the latest Die Hard
Are we
film.
spoiling it?
Oh, they do that in
It
Die
was
Hard?
so
What did I
bad.
tell you before we went to
We're not gonna go into it because I'm gonna rant.
It was bad.
No, it was
No, we should
it was
have that
the
for
worst
its own
film.
night. I don't know about the worst, but
Dude.
it was bad.
Bruce Willis threw one punch and it had this sound effect.
Oh, yeah.
And then the
even
rest,
Indiana
the rest of the,
Jones
no, not even Indiana Jones. The rest of that movie, I will wager my middle nut if you call me on this. They jump out of 3 windows.
Yes.
They took a lot of cover fire by hiding behind a pillar, and then maybe sending more just aimless cover fire.
Yeah.
There was hardly any relationship with the villain. We didn't even know who the villain was until it was over, practically.
He had a chessboard.
Oh yes, and
That
then
was smart.
here's the kicker: you go to Chernobyl, and there's this one baddie who is pulled. The moment I saw him, I went, "Didn't Indiana Jones kill this guy?" And then we were like, and then Jake goes, "Yeah, no, we killed him with a propeller, right? Guess how this guy dies? With a propeller. He's in Chernobyl. Put a fucking shirt on. It's Chernobyl. I
Feel
get,
a boxing too and everything?
Well, no, he just dies, and like you're like, oh man, mini boss. That's what that guy's gonna
but
be.
nothing happens. Nothing happens.
It's like
honestly, and all Bruce Willis kept saying throughout the movie was, "I'm on vacation." You know
I heard
what?
that. I heard
He
that.
fucking was on vacation because he
Yeah.
didn't work at all. He didn't work at all. And
But we should have a night just for that movie.
yes, we'll
because
rip
we
on
could
it.
complain
And
on that
to
so
cap it
bad.
off, you can wager how good the Die Hard films are by how much oomph he puts in the Yippee-Ki-Yay line.
Yeah.
Because in this movie, he pretty much characterized the whole film with, here's how he said it, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Like, okay. Like,
There we go again.
that's what this film was.
Was it basically just another one of those action series where they brought in a son and they're like, we're gonna try and build him up and find out if the audience likes him so we can let Bruce Willis have a vacation
Yeah,
for
and you know
real?
what? Dylon, I like the actor.
Yeah.
I hated the character.
To be honest, like just how they did it and everything, like they had elements in there that could have been good if it was in someone else's hands and they changed.
If it was a different.
Because like I took it
different
apart and I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? There's some good story elements hidden in here that they've just kind of bleached.
But cinematically, it was ugly too. The
Yeah.
camera was. Do you know? Here's what would have been a good Die Hard movie. All right, John McClane is at the end of his career, and a dirty IA agent is trying to paint him not as the hero cop he's going out as, but as like a criminal dirty cop. And it's this big injustice, right? He's got to defend himself.
I think they made that movie. It's called Red.
So here's the thing. So let's put him in a building. Just get us back to our roots. Die Hard 1, right?
Get back into
He
the
has to
building.
get out of this building because oh no, the dirty cops are the ones who are trying to boost, like, I don't know, maybe the lockup of like inventory and shit. They want to steal drugs and money. It's always about money, isn't it? So old McClane's got to get out of this building again. Now his son, who's a beat cop, horrible relationship with his dad. They haven't spoken in maybe 10 years. He's got a desk job. He wants to actually help people, and he hates being in his father's shadow. He knows dad's in trouble. Now we got two stories. This son's trying to get up the building to his dad. That would have been an interesting
That
story.
would have been a great movie.
His son getting behind a squad car, a black and blue, driving it through glass windows and working his way up that building. And then you could have had fun with the yippee-ki-yay line, like yippee-ki-yay, and his dad's being choked, and his son takes the gun as it slides across the floor, picks it up, glass and all, and goes, motherfucker, boom!
What's his name? Come back as the chief from
We just rewrote
Yeah.
Die Hard.
And then his son goes home.
Good.
And then we
No, and you know what? Then his dad retires or dies, and you know what? His son doesn't finish whatever kind of process he was going through in his own story to be a cop. Maybe he puts it down. He doesn't take up what dad does, but doesn't take up what he was going to
But
do.
the last line of the movie has to be like, did he die? And the son goes, yes, he died hard. And then end.
My clap will not get any faster than this. You deserve the slowest clap of all.
That's how you end the series.
Instead of John McClane.
Yeah.
Just like-
Dead, and instead of the end, just the word dead comes up, and then I would have gone hard.
There you go. That's how you do it.
But just they could have gone back to basics.
That's where I think that Dread picked up really well. It's because they essentially took Die Hard 1 and made it again, and it was awesome.
Dread was a damn good movie.
It was one of my favorite movies of last
But
year.
with Dread.
Dread was the raid, but
It's just
Trade.
well, his name was Dread McClane, right? So,
But just to bring it back, have you guys in your writing, be it comedy, be it fiction or novels or movies, have you ever come to a bridge you're about to cross where you thought, this is too close or done, I'm gonna go away from it, and have actively gone polar opposite? Or have you just gone with your gut and made a tired device fresh and new again? Because that's something that we should all strive to do, maybe.
Well, there's like a saying when it comes to doing jokes in comedy that no subject is considered hack if you can find a new approach.
Yeah.
And we got some pretty hacky subjects.
What's considered hack?
You're basically stuck with, if you want to do a dick joke, you better have a damn good dick joke, right? So I mean, like,
Nowadays, dicks are dime a dozen.
we got
I think
more
the
than
last
half dozen
good
right
dick
here.
joke I heard was Louis C.K.'s bag of dick jokes.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Is it baguettes? Is it just a mushy blood?
And that's the trouble with trying to do anything
Yeah.
tired in comedy is everyone's heard a good dick joke before. You may not remember every good dick joke you've heard, but you know a bad one when you hear it.
That's a good one.
Like, as soon as one comes out, you're like, that's stupid. Like, you could have just said dick and I would have laughed just as hard. Like, I'm just picturing a dick is as funny as that bad old dick joke. Maybe it's funny.
That would be a good dick joke if an innocent character goes, picture a dick. And you close your eyes and they just start giggling. And they're like, don't you find it funny? And it's like, you know what I do, yeah. yeah, my dick's pretty funny. I'm thinking of it. Yeah.
I like this.
Dicks.
So far, we've written a new Die Hard movie, a great dick joke. We're on our way to success here, fellas.
We need the dick joke for the Die Hard movie. It's got to be in there somewhere.
I guess in that case of not going the polar opposite, is there any cases that you wanted to keep the trope? You're like, this is familiar, but that's why it works.
Yeah, because people like it. Yeah,
they
people
like
like that
familiar.
scenario.
That's a principle in editing. Go ahead.
Or no, just Leslie Nielsen, when he made the original Police Squad, which eventually became a Naked Gun. The Police Squad television show just played on the tropes and just tried to make it as hilarious as possible using them.
Yeah.
And they would always end every episode with a different trope, and it was so funny. Like, they'd either have the one where they freeze frame, but the two of them would be the only one who was freeze framed.
Yeah.
So, like, the criminal that they're carrying is starting to, like, get really weirded out, and it was just really, really funny to watch. And, like, the endless laughter, you know how they normally cut on a laugh?
Oh my God. Yeah.
So the laugh would go on, the laughs would have to go on for, like, 5.5 minutes, and they'd be getting tired, and...
Or the set would fall
or
apart.
the set would fall apart. So it's just, like, all these little things, they took the tropes, and they just kind of used them for humor themselves.
So maybe it's like an outfit. You know how someone says, like, you're really wearing that outfit, or that outfit's really wearing you. So maybe it's, you got to really own it, or make it your own.
We did that for
Maybe that's it.
I think that's the only way to really keep a trope fresh. But otherwise, you know, it's there. It's easy, and depending on who you're working for, sometimes it's what they want.
Exactly. I get that a lot in cutting TV. They love shtick. They love to be dazzled with whiz bang and things. And people, when you're watching things, there's a satisfaction that comes when you connect the dots. And if you see out of the 3 beats, beat 1, beat 2, an audience member knows where that third beat's gonna come, and when it comes, they're so happy because they knew it was gonna come. So sometimes I think that's when a trope makes sense, because otherwise you might let your audience down. They're like, oh, you led me along intentionally to go the other way. In acting, I've been in classes where there's an individual who will, his first impulse is to go polar opposite to honesty, because he doesn't want to be like anyone else. You know, if everyone goes left, he's gonna go right. Or if everyone's exploring on their feet, he's gonna be the first one to get on the ground, you know? And that's always admirable, to be the guy that wants to go the other direction. But it's always obvious and unforgivable when it's done for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And I get in that trap. I get in that trap a lot. I'll write things where people are like, "Oh, you're clearly just trying to break the mold." And I think that something has to be something in. Picture like an amoeba swelling and breaking what it's in. Something has to break out of the mold. I don't think we can break it ourselves. That's arbitrary.
No, I think it just, if you're going to go out of the mold, it should be true to what you're writing and what you're writing causes you to go out of the mold, and not just write to get out of the mold. Otherwise, it's not going to be as powerful.
A good segue to that about this whole mold thing is talking about just any of these procedural crime dramas where you have to find who the killer is.
CSI.
Because a lot of those shows, it's weird when there's sort of these 2 points where sometimes I really want to like be able to call who the murderer is gonna be. Right? And when it is that person, you feel rewarded. You're like, yes, that was great.
Yeah, you played detective.
But at the exact same time, there's the other time when you see it and you're like, oh, it's gonna be the maid or the and then and you hate it when it is.
I hate when it's
because
always.
you know, like the way that they put it together was just very, very sloppy, and it just falls into the.
If it's obvious, if you didn't have to work for it, then you're disappointed.
I hate when it's obviously the one you least suspect.
Yeah.
And that,
Like
that's
that
sort of-
elevator movie or whatever. I saw the devil in an elevator.
Right.
What was that called?
And like Shyamalan.
just devil.
Do you know how I say it now?
They
I
weren't
was-
that creative at the time.
I was up really late. I was also kind of out of it, but I just had a bit of a snack. My eyes weren't open, and I grabbed Unbreakable off my shelf, and I went, Night Shyamalan. and now that's every time I see his name or hear it, I just think, Night Shyamalan, because I just pronounce his name that way now. But
But the greatest of those episodes is where you think it is the one way, but they have a solid twist and it all makes sense.
It's all about
That's
the
like-
solid.
How did you feel about David Fincher's Seven, where you didn't, where you as an audience member could not choose from? Okay, here are the key players I've been introduced to. Which one is it? In Seven, it was when are we going to find it? Are we going to find it?
Okay, the problem with 7 is when I rented it, they listed Kevin Spacey as one of the title characters on the box.
Oh, but
So you're like, where is Kevin Spacey? As you watch this, and then you're like, no, he's the killer.
As soon as
But,
he
but no,
shows
no, no.
up.
Yeah.
Here, interesting fact though, that was actually only done in home media releases. When that was on its way into theaters, they actually kept that very hush hush. He was a treat. And I thought, oh, I haven't had that happen yet. Where I've been in theaters and I went, oh, they're in this. Like you can't keep secrets can be kept now. JJ's great for that, but you can keep secrets in.
You have to work.
You really have to work, especially in this global village where shit in my pocket can take really good high def video. You know, it's like the flood in Halo. That was the last good twist I had. When I was playing Halo Combat Evolved.
showing up.
Combat Evolved. 1 minute you think you're just fighting the Covenant, and then all of a sudden you hear screaming, and you find out the Flood exists. Like that was one thing you didn't know were going to come. You know, I love a nice little, not a twist, but a blindside. Yeah.
I think the only blindside in the game was with Ico or Eco, whichever they. If you ever want to.
Are we like spoiling this for tons of people?
I'm not going to spoil it, but like right near the ending, the last kind of chunk, it's like I don't know, third. It's not even a third. It's less than that. The last chunk is such a different emotional level of the game because everything just feels so miserable and lost when you get there. Like I really enjoyed that game. If you have a chance, play Shadow of the Colossus and Ico.
Love Shadow of the Colossus.
They take you on an emotional ride. These games. And it's no dialogue at all. And you still feel miserable.
Jake was playing the XBLA game Braid, and you're basically it's get to the princess. She's in a knight's tower, and when you
Spoilers there?
yeah, there's a spoiler coming up. So if you care, plug your ears. Yeah. Yeah. So you get to the top of this tower, and she's screaming. She runs to the knight. She's running away from you. You're trying to get to her. She's trying to stay away from you. Yeah. We're done.
You good?
Yep, we're good.
I had to keep moving.
Jonathan,
So
Here,
so there are I think
You're going to have to edit this later.
yeah, exactly. You know when not to. Yeah, it only lasted 10 seconds. Yeah.
That's what she said.
But what I'm getting to, I guess we have the twist, the reveal, and the blind side. And I think that I prefer the blind side.
Not even see it coming. Or?
I like it whether it's coming to not matter. I mean, in 7, I was so invested in the characters and what the aftermaths were doing to them that this could have been, especially in film noir, there's always, the guy that got away, the Rollo Tomasi. Like, if they didn't catch him, I would have been left with a really good story about Morgan Freeman's character's last week on the job. That's what that story is. It's about a guy's last week on the job. The real drama of 7 is, will he follow through? Will he stay on the job or will he not? That's what that movie's about. And he stays on the job. Why? Because the world's not going to be any better without him on it. Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's kind of like when a lot of TV dramas hanging on who's gonna die next week, and it's like, are any character that important if that's the biggest twist? It's like, oh, is it gonna be him or her? But it's like, I'd rather see them do things than be like, oh, he's not gonna be here anymore.
That's what they
and
did
I'm
with.
invested.
Yeah, Joss Whedon, when he was starting Angel, he even though Doyle, the guy that played Doyle, OD'd and died anyway.
I did not know that.
He was written to be killed off in the first few episodes.
Which killed me because I loved the character.
That was the point.
Like he had so much charisma. He was great.
That example is right up there with J.J. Abrams intending to have Jack killed the first episode. People have a need to set up something we're used to with the intention of knocking it down. That's something I'd like to do, but the trap I fall into is what we've already just said earlier, is you don't want to be actively going the other direction for the sake of it.
Killing
That was the problem.
Yeah.
It's not
It
a
has to
shock
make
anymore.
sense.
Yes,
To me,
so
killing
that's
a
the shape of the
character is
glass.
not shocking.
Fill the
especially-
glass. Fill what you need.
Killing a character is not a thing anymore, especially in the comic world.
Especially with
Oh, yeah, it's
HBO.
not possible.
It's like someone's gonna die next month, and you're like, oh god, wait, no, they're just gonna come back the next month. Who
When the
cares?
newspaper made a big deal out of Captain America, I'm like, really?
It was a slow news day. It was a slow
Like-
news
It's like
day.
they're trying to recreate the death of Superman, which you cannot recreate because that was once ever, and it will never happen again.
Well, I mean, as Matt said in
The Death and Rebirth. of
Death and
Superman.
Rebirth of Superman. He's right. That killed death.
Yeah, Death killed Superman killed
Now,
Death
now, there's just the death is the
wrong.
ultimate stake, and now we don't have those kind of stakes anymore. I mean, I was really happy when the Flash was staying dead for a while, and there was this amazing. I still have the issue where there was a write-up 6 pages long on the topic of heroes coming back, and people were passionately saying, "We are not bringing the Flash back. They fucking brought him back."
Well, do we have any hyper Batman fans here who know? Isn't there some sort of Ra's al Ghul death pool that brings
He has
everyone?
the Lazarus
Yeah,
pits.
and I started reading recently because I wanted some research. I grew up reading more manga and silly comics and stuff, and now I want to read some DC, see what I've been missing. And it's talking about oh, he was brought back by Lazarus Pool and him too, and it's just why is anything important anymore in the story? Because everyone's just being thrown into the pool and they come back. It's where's Batman? Let's lock him in the pool.
They have a
And
whole
I'm
Batman
It's
animated
that
movie.
simple? Really? That's it?
Well,
Just
no,
Red Hood?
to go back to another option like this where death doesn't matter is the dream.
Yeah. Oh, such a
It was all
cost.
Stakes don't matter. It was all a dream. Stakes don't matter.
Excellent example. Roseanne. The TV series Roseanne didn't happen.
Wait.
The whole
That was a
thing
dream?
didn't happen.
Wait, how was that a dream?
It's some bitch in her basement whose whole family died, and she's just writing a story and fantasizing what
Why?
life would be like if they were
Why
alive.
did they end it that way?
How did you want it to end? Did you? Was there something?
That's the worst part.
That's not.
Well, that unto itself is this great punchline about it.
Yeah.
I think it would have been cool if John Goodman just turned into Walter Sobchak and pulled the gun out on everyone in the family. This is a miracle! That would have been the ending to that show for me.
I gotta roll out, but I guess the thought that I'd like to kind of throw in there before I move is there's no such thing as an original idea is what we all hear, right? So obviously there's always going to be tropes. There's always going to be things and devices that are used over and over again. If they are devices and they're tropes, it means that at one point or another they've worked. If we have been able to forgive them, it means that they can work again. So I think that when we come to devices and tropes, it's not about whether we're going to use them or whether we like them. It's about whether or not they work for our story.
How you use them, the tools.
Yes.
You use them badly, they don't work.
Yep, and it's all it's not the jokes that are funny; it's how I'm saying it. That's a lot of comedians will say that. So it's really we shape a lot of things. I always use this imagery when I'm explaining intention. We always shape the glass. We have to fill it. So a trope is just an empty glass until you fill it, until you give it substance and weight. It should be the result of something. I'm speaking right now as a result of thoughts and feelings I have. This is the end result. This is the this is the finish line. So let that trope not be something you inject or lay. Let's all strive to let the trope just happen. It's oh shit. You're looking back, hindsight, that's a trope, but no, that was necessary because this had to happen. Yeah. I gotta jettison. Really look forward to seeing you guys next week. It'll be awesome. Dylan, it was great meeting you.
Great meeting you.
I'll see you later, sir. Always great seeing you, sir.
Later, man.
Saturday, I guess.
Yeah, so Saturday.
Yeah, see you Saturday.
Doing our farewells for anyone who.
Okay, so
Find out more about Right Night by joining the Facebook group. It's on Facebook.